Drake May, the most hated QB in the 2024
We
NFL
spent
draft.
the entire college
J.J. McCarthy more hated.
football season talking about Drake May
A
being
North Carolina
a top
quarterback
prospect. But it
that
feels
gets
like we're
drafted
just
high.
starting to overthink it. It reminds me a lot of the way we glossed over and downgraded Justin Herbert ahead of the 2020 NFL draft. Now, maybe history is repeating itself with Drake May before the 2024 draft. Drake May just had a good 2-year stretch at UNC where he showed a lot of NFL potential. Everyone expects him to be a first-round pick. The question is where he'll
Looks
go.
tired.
I doubt he'll jump Caleb Williams at 1 to the Bears, but it feels like every other team should be in play. I think Drake May is a good prospect. And personally, as a Washington fan, I want him at 2. The discourse around him has changed a lot and really fast. And I'm telling you, it just reminds me so much of what happened with Justin Herbert pre-draft. Justin Herbert started in 4 seasons at Oregon and was good from the jump. He was good as a freshman and kept getting better. Herbert was expected to be a high pick in the 2019 draft, but then he decided to return for his senior season and had an even better year with 3,400 yards
Why did he even do that?
36 total touchdowns with only 6 interceptions. Herbert had the numbers and showed talent that could translate over to the NFL level. Like the draft this year, it was loaded with some really good quarterback prospects. Joe Burrow was coming off of winning the Heisman Trophy and winning a national championship at LSU. Jordan Love also went in the first round of that draft at 26, and Jalen Hurts went in the second round.
Now it's on the
A
right
real
side.
tough decision was at 5th overall to the Dolphins, who ended up picking Tua Tagovailoa over Justin Herbert, who went to the Chargers with the next pick. He's had a good NFL career so far. He has over 20 touchdowns in each season, and last offseason, he signed a 5-year, $262.5 million extension. Justin Herbert has been a good NFL quarterback, and his pre-draft talk just really reminds me a lot of Drake May, but that doesn't necessarily mean he'll be good in the league. I really don't know why so many people have switched up on Drake May so fast, but I still want him for the Commanders. When you look at his body of work in college, he was good, and he was expected to be good. Drake May always had the potential to be a good collegiate quarterback. His father, Mark May, played quarterback at North Carolina from 1983 to 1987, where he had a lot of success. He had a quick stint with the Buccaneers before becoming a graduate assistant at UNC. Drake May is now carrying on his football legacy, but he isn't the first North Carolina recent May to become a star in that Carolina blue. Luke May is a name that every Tar Heel fan knows, and really every March Madness fan. He spent 4 seasons in North Carolina, won the national championship in 2017. His little brother, Bo May, later walked onto the basketball team as well. The May family actually had 2 national championship winners in 2017. Cole May played baseball at Florida and won the College World Series.
Wait, are they all related?
On that loaded Gators roster that had Jonathan India, Brady Singer, and Jackson Kowar, all first-round picks. It's safe to say that the May family is very talented.
Oh, they all
Drake
are.
May certainly proved that at UNC. I personally think it's always really cool to see a local guy, homegrown guy, have success in college. And that was Drake May, but that almost wasn't the case. Drake May was born and raised in Charlotte. He was a 5-star recruit, the best player in North Carolina, and the 4th best quarterback in the class. 2 spots behind Caleb Williams, 3 spots behind Quinn Ewers, and 2 spots ahead of J.J. McCarthy. Drake May was a top prospect and decided to commit to Alabama. Of course, he then flipped to North Carolina. He redshirted his freshman year in Chapel Hill and played a little, throwing the ball just 10 times. Sam Howell was the starter then. Of course, he was drafted by Washington and was actually recently traded to the Seahawks. The potential of Howell and May back together on the Commanders would have certainly been something, but the two are apparently still good friends. Once Howell did leave for the pros, Drake May beat out now Arkansas quarterback Jacoby Criswell for the starting job.
the fuck?
Maye went on to have a very impressive redshirt
Damn.
freshman season. He had 5 different games with 5 touchdowns. UNC started the year unranked and then got as high as number 13 in the country. The Tar Heels started really hot. They won their first 3 non-con games and lost to Notre Dame to close out September. I then got to see Drake Maye and the Heels on October 1st in Chapel Hill. Virginia Tech went down there and got crushed 41-10. Maye threw for 3 touchdowns, rushed for 2. It was ugly. It's probably one of the worst sporting events I've attended personally. The Hokies got crushed. It rained the whole time, and we had to drive there and back from Blacksburg. It sucked, but Maye looked legit. That was the first of 6 straight wins for North Carolina. They were 9-1 and number 13 in the country. Then the Tar Heels lost to a
Georgia
not
Tech.
very good Georgia Tech team, and then fell to NC State.
Georgia Tech's 5-6. I don't know if you can see that.
Then straight wins for North Carolina.
5-6.
They were 9-1
That's
and number 13 in the country.
Loss.
Then the Tar Heels lost to a not very good Georgia Tech team, and then fell to NC State in double.
NC State, they're 8-4. At least they're a little bit better.
That led into a loss to number 9 Clemson in the ACC championship game, and a loss in the Holiday Bowl to number 15 Oregon and Bo Nix by just 1 point after the Ducks scored with 19 seconds left to win the game. UNC finished 9-5, and Drake Maye had a historic year. He had a school record 4,321 passing yards, which was originally held by Mitch Trubisky. Maye also had 38 passing touchdowns, passing Sam Howell. He only threw 7 interceptions on the year, and he rushed for almost 700 yards and 7 touchdowns. Drake Maye earned a lot of expectations for the 2023 season, and like Howell did in his final college season, he just declined. UNC started off with 6 straight wins, including over number 25 Miami, when Maye had a season-high 4 passing touchdowns. The Tar Heels looked good, but the same thing happened from 2022. North Carolina fell apart during the stretch. They lost back-to-back to Virginia and Georgia. Carolina fell apart during the stretch. They lost back-to-back to Virginia and Georgia Tech after winning 2 straight to rebound.
Georgia Tech again?
They lost to Clemson and number 22 NC State to finish the regular season. Maye decided to opt out of
They literally played the same exact schedule and lost the same exact games again.
Mayo Bowl and
they are so trash.
Played instead. It was a down year, but it was actually still pretty good for Maye. He finished with 3,600 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions, and rushed for 449 yards and 9 touchdowns.
Good, but still good.
It certainly made a difference losing his top receiver from the year before, Colts third rounder Josh Downs. Drake Maye is a big quarterback. He lost some of his talent, and his draft stock has dipped a bit. It's just so many similarities to Justin Herbert. Drake Maye is certainly one of the best quarterbacks in the class, just as Justin Herbert once was. The question is where he's actually going to end up come draft day. Caleb Williams should be the selection at 1 to Chicago. Everyone expects that. Drake Maye's the guy that was talked about all season as the consolation prize. He was the expected 2nd overall pick, and I still do think that'll be the case, but Jaden Daniels has really complicated that, and a lot of Washington media do think that Daniels is now going to be the pick.
Both of them.
He just had a great Heisman-winning season, and he draws a lot of similarities to that Joe Burrow kind of coming out of nowhere in year 2 story at LSU, of course. He's shown a lot of talent, as has Drake Maye. Both have been very mobile at the college level, which NFL teams obviously want. You add that to his ability to throw the ball downfield, and you have a guy with a lot of NFL tools. Of course, so much of what makes a young quarterback successful are the pieces around him and his situation. I personally really do hope that ends up being in Washington. Adam Peters and Dan Quinn were both there at his pro day, and he put on a show. I think he'd fit well with Cliff Kingsbury. Obviously, Caleb Williams would already have a good rapport with him, but he'll probably land in Chicago. I know Drake Maye or Jaden Daniels.
You guys keep saying it. We know he's going to Chicago.
But I feel the same way I did months ago. I truly think that Drake Maye is closer to Caleb Williams than he is to Jaden Daniels as a prospect. That's just my personal opinion, though. Daniels could be a very fun NFL player, and I do hope he develops well, and what I think is going to end up being New England, but I think Drake Maye has the 2nd highest ceiling behind Caleb in the draft.
You get Jaden Daniels,
I've had the luxury
buddy.
of watching a lot of Drake Maye as an ACC fan, there's been some good, there's been some bad, but I've always been able to see those tools which could make him an NFL quarterback. I know a lot of people have a sour taste in their mouth after Mitch Trubisky and even Sam Howell to a degree, but at the end of the day, you have to look at the prospect, not the helmet. I am a firm believer in Drake Maye, and that's who I hope the Commanders take at 2.
Well, they're not, buddy. How do we tell you? They're taking Jane Daniels.